Yeah, man. How's your headphones? Are they too loud, too quiet?
I mean, they're pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
All right, you ready to knock into this thing?
I'm ready to knock into it, dude.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Jameson on the Rocks podcast. Today I have with me Mr. Parker. Tell me how to pronounce your last name. Is it Wierling?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
sweet. I had it.
No,
I didn't want to botch it though.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It is botched all the time.
Is it?
Actually.
What do people say usually?
Wierling is the main
Wierling.
one.
Oh,
I've gotten Wierling.
Okay.
I've gotten Warling once, but I think they must have been on something.
Out
That's
of state.
pretty rough. Yeah,
That's pretty bad. I felt like it looked like Whirling, but I didn't want to come in here and botch it.
It's okay.
Whirling's right.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah,
Right,
I
sweet.
appreciate you asking.
No problem, man. Tell me a little bit about yourself, but first, just some context for the audience and everything. I believe from what I've read, I don't know very much about you. I know you're actor, musician, podcaster from
Correct.
the website. So a man of many statures, which I respect. I like doing it all as well. Kind of tell me how you got going. Where do you live? Are you Athens based?
Yeah, I go back and forth between Athens and Atlanta
Okay.
every week, actually.
Every week. Okay. Just for work or
because
school or
for work.
Okay.
So I am a music teacher as well. So
Awesome.
when I moved here in May, I still kept my Monday and Tuesday students in Atlanta.
Okay.
Because it's just really good pay. I go
Yeah.
in home, so
Yeah.
I go to like their house and teach them there.
It's like piano, vocal,
Guitar, drums, and bass, but I don't have a lot of bass students.
Okay, interesting.
I got one bass student in Athens, and he's by far the coolest,
Yeah?
which I think says something about bass in general.
Very telling. Very telling.
But yeah, so I go back and forth every week.
Okay.
But the drive's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad. I wondered because I only recently came to start hearing about you. I think it was probably when Drew Beskin started posting stuff about you and maybe the single or maybe it was probably that EP release show. And I was like, who is this guy? And then I'd known the On the Note before that because I'd heard of that. It's On the Note, right? Am I saying that right?
On that note, yeah.
On that note, excuse me.
That's okay.
On the Note podcast, I had heard of that, but I wasn't aware that it was you. So, and then I pieced it all together. I was like, all right, here we are.
Yeah. Drew's the man. He's been
Drew's the
a
homie.
huge supporter and help. And I met him here before I moved here.
Okay.
He was like, if you want to meet people here, you should meet up with Tommy Troutwine. And then
that's a good central.
yeah, exactly.
Host. Yeah.
And so we met for coffee, and then I was like, man, this place is so cool. I'd love to. It might be really nice to move here. And he's like, well, we got a room open if you want to.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm living with Tommy.
With the Trotwa? No way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a good musical start. You
yeah,
probably know everybody at
the
this point.
Wabaz studio. Yeah, everybody's coming in all the time.
I love
every
that.
day there's somebody there, which
That's
is
great, man.
really cool.
Yeah, Tommy's killing it, man. All those guys are so cool, man. Drew himself is one of the smartest musical managerial minds in town. I don't know if you've noticed that, but he's one of the wisest guys.
I just asked him if we could get together and because he just saw the show, which was my first one in Athens.
Yeah, how did that go, by the way? Is Flickr?
Yeah, Flickr. It was really fun. I had Jacob Malo and Aunt Moth, and they killed it. It was just a blast. Yeah, I hadn't played live in 3 years, probably, at least
turnout.
with a band. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just excited to do it regardless of how many people came because
It's been 3 years.
Been
I mean,
3
shit,
years.
You're probably itching, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and once you it's one of those things where the longer you wait, the scarier it gets, and the bigger the mountain seems. So I felt like let's do it once. Let me just get it out of the way so I can want to keep doing it again.
I respect that, man. It's so true because literally we took 2 months off this summer, and I was nervous for the next one. I was like, why am I nervous? We played 55 shows last year. What
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I feel you there. I'm glad it went well, man. Flickr is a great spot for anybody coming into Athens. Great choice. Where did you move from? I guess I'm trying to find the backstory here first before we get too deep into it.
Smyrna, Georgia, if you know where that is.
No, never heard of that.
Near Vinings. I mean, it's it's Atlanta. It's 20
Yeah,
minutes from Atlanta. So
Atlanta area.
It's right outside the perimeter.
Okay, sweet. And you've lived there your whole life, or?
So I lived there up until I graduated high school, and then moved to Los Angeles for 5.5 years.
How'd you like that?
It was cool.
It's interesting. Was that for the acting side of things, probably?
It was mainly for the acting stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool part of the journey. It's kind of wild to think that I was there for so long because
that's a long time.
It's been a year and a half maybe since I went back. So since I left.
Yeah.
So it's funny to think that was like a part of my life.
Yeah,
you know
dude.
what I mean?
5.5 years is not just like, oh, you moved over there for a little bit. It's like you were there.
Yeah. But it is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
But
I've never been, man. I'm jealous. It's cool.
Yeah, you should check it out. I mean, it's great to visit, I think. I think living there is a whole different ball game.
I hear that a lot these days. Well, it's kind of the talk. But did you move there at the time? Were you into just acting, or was that for music too?
I've been acting longer than I've been playing music, but music has probably a more special place in my heart.
Maybe, yeah.
But acting is still something I really love to do. But the reason why I moved out there is like, it just felt, well, first of all, it was going to be a gap year, and clearly that didn't happen.
A good one, a good-sized gap year.
Yeah, a good-sized gap
I respect that. Might as well.
And it was, beautiful place, and things were going pretty well for a while, but then once the pandemic happened, all the sets were shut down. None of the auditions were happening. And then even when they did start to come back, everything is taped. So you tape an audition. So you don't have to go anywhere. So you don't have to live anywhere particular.
Okay, interesting.
So it was just like paying a lot of rent money.
Yeah, for no reason.
For no reason.
Interesting.
Except for the palm trees.
Doesn't sound too bad. That's interesting, man. That's wild, dude. Like, what was it like being out there going from Georgia to LA? Was it pretty big culture shock at first, I imagine?
A little bit, but I had lived there for about 3 months when I was a junior in high school.
Okay.
For acting, they used to do a thing called pilot season, where all the pilots of a show, like the first episode of a show, were cast between January and May every year. So there was like a pilgrimage of actors from around the country to go to LA and try to book something. So I did that my junior year of high school. So I already had and even before that, I'd go there for spring break with my parents and stuff.
Yeah. So you've been around there.
And I knew a few people, but it was a bigger culture shock moving from Atlanta to Athens.
Really?
Because I'd only lived in big cities my whole life.
The biggest, right?
And now every time I go somewhere, I see somebody I know. And I'm like, this is so weird.
Do you like it? Yeah, it's cool?
It's cool. Yeah, it is nice.
Because Athens is like a big city, but like not. You know what I mean? It's like a country city, I guess, is what I would call it, or something. Which is what I love about it, because I don't really want to be in Atlanta too bad,
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Yeah.
And I moved here in May, so it was like, I'm like, oh, it's a nice, quiet, quaint town.
Yeah.
And I had the whole summer without any students, and now all the students here, I'm like, oh, whoa, this place is wild.
Yeah, it's happening.
Very different during the summer.
It's amazing how much it dies in the summer, man. It's very cool. Very cool. I like it in summer for about the first 2 months. But that's interesting, man. What'd you think about, obviously Atlanta, LA is going to have a lot more opportunities if you're perhaps in the industry you're in, what have you thought about Athens so far opportunity-wise? Has it been like, oh, there's not as much going on, or is it?
I think that what is so cool about here is that everybody is very supportive of each other, and it is like kind of a tight community.
Very tight, yeah.
Whereas in Atlanta, and maybe part of this is my own fault for not putting myself out there as much, but it seemed a little bit more daunting to try to find
cutthroat
people.
kind of, or
maybe, yeah. It was just harder to find people, I guess. And
that makes sense.
When I came here for the first time to do anything, it was to record music with Patrick Doherty.
I've heard of Patrick.
Yeah, so he's got Racket Recording Studios.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people in there now. It seems to be popping.
Yes, it's a great studio. If anybody needs good studio time, he's a great engineer. The studio's awesome, and
it's got one tennis racket on the wall.
Yes, I think he upgraded to a few.
A
few tennis rackets.
Very appropriate.
But Gideon Johnson played drums on that EP.
Legend.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Do you know Clark Sound?
I've heard the name. Don't know him.
He's based in Atlanta, but he might as well be based here. He comes here all the time. So they kind of came together to help me make this, and then we had people come in and out, like Cannon. Yeah. Cannon did some slide and some guitar.
Cannon's a man. Well, that's how Athens works right there. You make EP, all the homies are playing on it, right?
Exactly.
Very cool. And is this, which EP you're referring to? Is this the one that's been out or it's coming out?
So I have 2 EPs that are on the
on the streaming.
Not on the streaming yet. Okay. One of them's coming out September 29th.
Sweet. So this will come out in great timing for that.
Yes,
be a good promo.
Perfect. Yeah. So the new single that just came out, Better Than You Blues, came out last week.
I dig it. And it's very blues.
Yeah, very blues.
Very cool.
It's the most blues thing I've ever done.
Good lyrics, man. Very stick it to the man lyrics or something like that.
Yeah. I just wanted to be petty.
Yeah, that would be a better way to describe it. Like the Boston lines and all that stuff. I like all that stuff. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. But that song is the single off of the EP that's coming out at the end of the month called It's So You.
It's So You.
And then that one I did in Philadelphia a year ago with a guy named Kevin Basco. Rubber Band Gun is like his moniker. He's really sick. We recorded everything to tape, which was
sick,
part of the reason why I wanted to go do it, because I thought that'd be really fun.
Yeah, that's great.
And then the EP I was just talking about with Patrick and Gideon and Clark, that we did here in Athens, and that's I don't know when it's gonna come out yet, but that's that'll probably be maybe the end of the year.
Well, the fact that you got 2 in the queue is pretty impressive, man. Good for you, dude. How many songs on each?
4 for the one coming up in September, and then 3 for the other one.
Full album, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
good for you, man. Good for you, dude. That's great. I'm excited to hear it. Before we keep going, I want to make sure I press record on this camera. You ever do that?
Yes, I do it all the time.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, we're good.
All right, we're good to go. We're good.
Rookie move.
No, man, I've done that. I've just not recorded my own vocals before. Yeah, and it's like you feel like such an idiot.
That's like my worst nightmare is getting to the end of the podcast and like going to turn the camera off and it's already off. It's like
and you're like,
because then you wasted your guest time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the EPs. That's wonderful, dude. I'm excited to hear that. I think that's great, dude. Like 2 EPs coming out in the next couple. I mean, that's movement. You know what I mean? That's great. Yeah.
Thanks.
And you got a lot of old music on there too that I dug.
Yeah.
Some of it was more like not R&B or like rap flow almost, but like I think it was Always.
Yeah, Always.
That was my favorite one out of all of your songs, dude. I thought that was cool.
Appreciate it. I'm glad that I do have those older songs on there for people to enjoy. Yeah. But it's funny because I didn't play anything before With a Little Love. I didn't play at Flickr because they are more like electronic.
Yeah.
I did everything on my computer, just Logic.
Yeah, word.
And then With a Little Love and Hazy Lazy Light were the first times. Actually, that's not true. Always as well. But I would go to these guys' New Beat Fund in LA, and they would basically take the tracks that I made, the project, and just doctor it up and make it sound like a million times better.
Yeah, dude. The production on all of your stuff, I will say, was very impressive. Very professional sounding.
Thank you.
Like all the way to the start from what I heard.
Thank you. Yeah.
I did a deep dive in the catalog, so I had to make sure I was ready, man.
That always makes me warm and fuzzy inside. I'm like,
got you a few
cool.
streams in there, man.
Yeah, the people are listening to it.
Yeah, man. I think I was impressed that it all sounded really professional just from the start. You know, 'cause sometimes most bands, I'd say, there's a little learning curve. You know, the first couple singles a little spacey, that kind of stuff. Mine were, and then you kind of figure out your flow, but like.
Well, you didn't listen to my very first EP under a different name. If you heard that, you might be like, "Oh, all right."
So it was there. Okay, word.
Yeah.
You said which single does it start being a little more band based? Was that
So With Little Love was the first time I put out a song where I wrote everything on guitar first before I recorded it.
Okay.
And then I think the next era, I guess, quote unquote, would be this Better Than You blues song and going forward, because that was the first time I wrote these songs acoustically, brought them to a producer, and then from there we took like the seed of what it was and made it into, a real big song.
Sweet.
So everything else I would record while I wrote.
Gotcha.
So I was kind of like figuring it out, whereas this one it was like, let's see what we got as a seed and see what we can do with it over the course of like 5 days.
A little more purposeful, maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
And what are you looking to do going forward? Like maybe with the EP, is it all a little more, I would say like band, like Better Than You blues sounds like a band song to me. You know what I mean? Like, is it a little more band based or acoustic or?
So the new song, the new EP, right? The one that's going to come out at the end of September, It's So You, that one, all of it feels like, a band played this.
Gotcha.
Right.
Sweet.
And then the next EP also definitely feels like that. There's one of the 3 songs that really, my friend said this, and I'm like, dude, you knew what I was going for. Was the Sound and Color by Alabama Shakes. You know that song?
I don't know if I've listened to it, but I've listened to the Shakes. I've listened to the Shakes, of course.
So that album's amazing, and the first song is Sound and Color. And that one, it's like, there's a lot of space going on, and it kind of like, it is a band, but it feels very ethereal. So I really want to take that direction. I love Bon Iver.
Yeah,
and
me too. Me too.
like Radiohead, stuff like that. So I would love to go
like Spaces, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
Sonic decoration.
Right. Because the other songs were always like the ones you mentioned earlier, like Always, Always. Those, I guess I had a thing where I'm like, I got to fill every nook and cranny of this song to like get all these cool hooks and psychedelic sounds.
Absolutely.
I kind of want to like challenge myself to, take away as much as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting how that goes when you're young and making your first songs. Like, you think you have to have a lot of stuff on there, but then you're like listening to the iconic songs, like, damn, there's nothing going on right now. You know what I mean? Or like, it's like one thing. Like, your mind can only hear so much, if that makes sense.
Right.
At once,
Exactly.
That's interesting. I've been trying to do that too. Is why I mentioned that.
Yeah, that's
Have
awesome.
you ever heard of the Stews? You know what I'm talking about?
I've seen you post about them. I've seen everybody in Athens posting about them.
They're
and
fantastic.
I need to check them out.
You need to check them out. We played with them on Thursday, and that was the thing I noticed about them was like, all of my songs, I'd say your songs too, are pretty lyrically driven, if that makes sense. Like verse, chorus kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They have like full like 6.5-minute songs that'll have like one verse and like it's still entertaining. I'm like, damn,
interesting.
That's very, very cool. Like no chorus almost, just like the builds of the musical parts of the song or the chorus. It's very cool. I'm just interesting. You should give them a listen.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
totally. Yeah. What's like a good entry point?
I'd say 9-5 or Make It Out is like a softer one. Or not softer one, but like a more catchy hook one, if that makes sense. But 9-5 is like one that one I'm thinking of that has pretty much 2 verses, no chorus, and the builds are like the choruses. Very cool. Very
nice.
Cool. But anyways,
9-5.
Not to get too sidetracked on that. Kind of tell me what would you consider yourself first would be my next question. Like a singer, songwriter, guitarist, actor, podcaster, any of those first? Like if you had to cut all of them off, which would you choose?
Oh God,
big
that's
question.
Tough. Yeah. Man.
Like at the core, what are you?
Ooh. Oh God, this is a therapy session right here. I guess. I mean, I love songwriting. I love taking a song from the beginning and like seeing it change over the course of over the course of multiple recording sessions. That to me is like the most exhilarating thing.
Yeah.
I love acting, but it's not like, it doesn't provide me that same feeling.
Immediacy, if that makes sense.
Part of that is because you don't get to like pick the roles. If you're lucky, you get picked to do something.
Yeah,
and it's
you like.
Yeah, so it's a little different. Or at least that's been my experience. And then podcasting, I love to do, like, really, because it's cool to like do something like this, get to get other people's perspectives on things. So man, that'd be really tough to answer, but I'd say the thing that gives me the most joy is songwriting and, and taking it from point A to point B. Do you consider yourself a producer at all on that end? Because I mean, you're talking about taking songs from point A to point B. Like, how interested are you in that kind of stuff, or does it not apply? Yeah, I mean, it seems like it does. When I started, I was doing everything. Like the first EP I did, that was under a different name. That was, I did everything, and you can tell because I hadn't done it before. So I do like looking at songs and things from a production standpoint. But what I loved about these new 2 EPs was I kind of got to be like the director of a movie where I know what I want and I know where to, or hopefully, have ideas where to take things. Okay. But I can't necessarily, or I don't necessarily have the chops musically to make all of these things happen. Which is why I like working with people. Yeah. Okay. Like, Patrick is like an engineer, so he knows how to do all those things, set up the mic, mix, do all of that. And not to mention play instruments, but Clark as well. Clark Sound, he just has this, like, what's the word? Almost like a Dr. Jekyll musical mind, where it's just all these crazy ideas are coming out at once. Yeah. So I can have him in there to come up with these crazy ideas, and then I can pick and choose, like, oh, that's interesting, that's cool, let's use that. And it's more like a director where I can just use the resources in front of me. Gotcha. As opposed to like because I can't play like a virtuoso or anything like that. Gotcha. So did you find that relieving, I guess, to have the producer role taken off you? Like you say, you're directing, you're not filming. You know what I mean? You're not producing the film. If that makes sense. Exactly. It's more it is relieving. Part of me misses that.
Yeah, it is fun sometimes.
Yeah, it is really fun to like be like, oh, I'm gonna play everything because let's see how it goes. But at the same time, it's like a little limiting because I'm limited to my ability to play it.
Exactly.
Whereas if I hear somebody like Gideon Johnson lay down this really sick beat, I'm like, well, what am I going to say no to that? Yeah, as he does. He always does.
As he does from time to time.
Yeah. And he's so great at taking direction too. So that's really important.
Yeah. That's interesting because like to a certain point, at least in my experience, like I like to do it all myself too. Like if you want something done right, do it yourself. So like here I am booking the band, managing the band, all that shit. And it's like to a certain point, it's like, all right, somebody could probably do this stuff better.
Yeah.
Like somebody can write a better drum beat than me. Like Gideon, you know what I mean? Or a better bass line. Tommy could do that any day, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like you get to a certain point where it's like, all right, you appreciate that somebody can do something better than you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like just let it go. If they come up with something, let it go.
Right. Yeah. And it frees up space in your mind to not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Whereas you can just focus on the ideas that are coming.
Exactly.
Instead of having to execute them perfectly.
Yeah, I agree, man. That's a good point. Good point. I try to think about this kind of stuff, but I really only think about it too hard on here. I need to just let it go more. Because, like, you get the song idea in your head, and you're like, all right, I know exactly how the fuck it should sound. Like, the drum should be just like this and fat and huge. And then somebody plays something different. It's, like, immediately, like wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you go wrong just because you already decided in your mind that it was like something. And, like, it doesn't have to be. You know? Yeah.
And that's why I've liked doing this thing now where I just write the song on a guitar and then bring it in, because if I do what I've been doing years ago where I would do it all in Logic and like write the drum beats and whatever, if I was to take that and bring it in somewhere, changing it is only gonna be like it can't be that drastic because I'm so locked into what I've already done.
Yeah, like you kind of fall like Demo-itis or like falling in love with it. Like I think it was like a John Mayer quote. He's like, he had like the Guitar to Gravity or one of those songs, and he's like, I didn't sing on it for days because I knew I'd fall in love with the first thing I sang, you know? So he's like, I thought about it for a while, and I was like, ooh, that's pretty deep. I like that.
Yeah, it's tough once you get attached to it
to
let go.
Exactly. Yeah, very interesting, man. I'm glad you've had similar experiences because I'm working on that myself. Not committed. Like, it's almost better to bring it in incomplete at this point, to me at least.
Yeah.
You know, like let them, because when you bring it in with the drums or the bass or whatever on it, they automatically assume that you want that, and it like maybe like triggers their mind to not think of something new. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Bringing in like a nice blank space for people to play around with,
to
or
paint
a sandbox.
You know? Yeah, man, I agree. That's good. Well, moving forward, was there anything you kind of learned from these two records that was like, all right, the next one I'm not going to do that, or the next one I am going to do that?
Yeah, that's funny. I asked my guest that question, so it's funny to get it from me.
Great minds.
Yeah. Well, the thing I loved about the first one, the It's So You, I mean, I loved recording to tape. I'd love to do that again.
Was it like a big 24-track tape machine, or what were we looking at?
I can't remember how many it was, but we really would only record 1 to 2 tracks at a time.
Gotcha.
Well, for the drums, he probably had like 4 mics. So there was never more than 4 inputs going into it at the same time.
Probably like
we weren't doing like a whole band, you know. But yeah, I mean, it was the whole reel to reel. But I think one thing I learned about what I like is it's really fun when you make it an event in a way.
Okay.
Like I went up to Philadelphia for 5 days to record this.
Gotcha.
With a guy I'd never met in person.
That's wild. I like that.
And so it was like this risk, and then I got there and I'm like, what am I doing? Was this the right move? You're questioning yourself. And then at the end I was so pumped about it, and coming to Athens too, like it was fun to make it an event. Like I'm going to Athens today to do this thing, as opposed to what I've been doing before. You know, a couple of years ago, I was just in my room, and at any point of the day or night, I could start the session or end it, as opposed to, all right, like we're in the studio. Yeah. It feels more like
we have nothing else to think about today. This is it.
Yeah. And I think every time I do something, I learn the lesson again of like, don't be afraid to like really say what you want, because it's easy when you do have people who are like really good at what they do to just kind of say, oh yeah, that's cool, and let them move on. But at the same time, it's really helpful to, if you have that intuition of like, no, let's try this.
Let's
really,
hash on it.
Really go for it. But at the same time, don't be attached, because
interesting.
You might try it and maybe you realize, oh, this doesn't sound as good as I wanted to, but you don't want to let the ego come in and be like, oh, but it was my idea, so I should stick to it.
Yeah, like you want to be right about it almost sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. That's cool. I think to make it an event, that's something we shouldn't breeze over. That's pretty cool, because like I think that's the problem. Like when you have your own home studio almost, or like, you know, like an interface. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have all the time, so there's no initiative to actually do it, if that makes sense. Same kind of thing when bands like rent out a studio for a year. They're going to use the whole year. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't get in there and like actually get it done, if that makes sense. And making it an event is a really cool way to put it, because like it is an event. You know, it should be cool. It should be like, oh, we're going to the studio today. I got not shit else to do today. Right. But make sure we get these songs, you know?
Yeah, because you're like stoked about going and you like there's this energy to it. Whereas if there's a, you know, obviously it's nice to have access to a studio at all times.
Fantastic.
But at the same time, it's like not, you kind of maybe lose a little bit of that.
I agree.
Specialness.
That sauce, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm almost scared to have a home studio completely, you know, because it would, I don't know, I just feel like it'd be too much access almost. Like you say, not an event, you know, you're just going into your back room to record.
Exactly.
But I'm sure it has its perks. Tommy could tell us, I'm sure.
Tommy's probably like, you guys are crazy.
Like, you guys are idiots,
sweet
man.
This,
yeah, it's great, yeah.
Because you don't have to pay for time.
That's a good point. That's another thing I've struggled with. It's like the time thing. It's like, all right, should we... It's like, I want to go in there and get shit done. Like, I want to have them ready when we get in there, if that makes sense. But also, that leads to, like, the attachment that we're talking about. It's like when the song's done and it's road tested, we've been playing it, we get in there, and I'm not going to change anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, but everybody else in the band wants to experiment with something. It's like, bro, we're fucking spending $50 an hour. What are you talking about experimenting? Like, it should be experimented already. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's another thing I've been thinking about, is like, is it worth it to get like a lot of days in the studio? And like, if you waste the money, you waste the money, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of, now that you say that, that is something I'd like to do next time, is
get more days?
Is maybe get more days, but maybe practice with a band first.
Yeah.
Get these songs, like, how do you play these live? And then have that, go in and record it like that. And then experiment from there.
Yeah,
like,
it's interesting.
Because everything I did was just one acoustic guitar and vocal.
Gotcha.
And then figuring it out from there. But it'd be kind of cool to like start from a band and then maybe reduce or figure out different ways to go about a certain way.
I think that's a great way to do it, man. That's what we've been trying to do, is like road test it, is what I call them. Like you go and play it, and like sometimes things will become very apparent. Like if heads are bobbing at the start and then they like slowly like stop, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, this is too long, or all right, this bridge is unnecessary. Or, you know, like just certain things become like, all right, this is not, you know what I mean? So like maybe it wouldn't hurt to, I mean, even just learn them with the band and try them at some shows. And like if it slams, you're like, all right, that's it, you know. Or if it feels like towards the end, it's like, all right, this is dragging on, or oh, this is too slow, too fast, you know. Like I think that's a good way to do it.
Have there been any tunes of your own where as soon as this show's over, you're like, yo, we got to change that one part?
Almost every song we do, right? Yeah, it's like, bro, like no, it's like it makes it very apparent, you know. You could just watch, like you got to watch the people while you're doing it though, but like certain things will feel good or not good, you know.
Right.
That'd be something I'd try if I was you. Very cool.
Yes.
Then again though, like you're not necessarily a band entity, are you? No, you're very much solo, right?
Yeah. So I write everything by myself.
Yeah. So kind of a different thing, I guess. Like nobody's gonna care, you know, like crucify you if you're like, oh, it's not a band song, you know what I mean? So you can do what you want.
It would be sick though. Like,
yeah,
I look at Hefner and I'm like, that's cool that they all
so
get
good,
to like get together and write together. Yeah, you know what I mean?
They're so fucking good, dude. It's unbelievable.
They're amazing. Their new album, Perfect Heaven, I listen to all the time.
They messaged me the other day because we talked about, they've been on the show too. They were like, we want to come in and we want to listen to the album on the show and talk about each song. I was like, fucking come on, bro. That'd be sick, bro.
Dude, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I was messaging them because that record sounds so good. I was like, damn, dude, who produced that? I figured they'd said Tommy, but it was, I think he said Nate Nelson. You ever heard of him?
Oh, yeah.
Out of Tweed. So I'm kind of up in the air right now between using Tommy or Nate. I'm talking to both of them. They're pretty cool guys.
Dude, yeah. I've not met Nate yet, but I've heard amazing things.
That's why I'm kind of biased towards Tommy, because I know Tommy. I like Tommy.
Right.
And I like Tommy's stuff. Like all his solo records sound amazing.
That's how I found about you. He told me about you. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Thank you,
he
Tommy.
was like, there's another dude who plays music and also has a podcast. And I was like, what? No way.
Took my idea.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's it was like meant to be. I was like, oh, and then I just realized that you actually did an interview with him.
I did way back, man, way back.
I was listening to that Hefner one today, and I found, and then before that, I listened to the Corduroy Blue
classic
that you just put out.
Yeah, they're from Atlanta. Do you know them?
I met Atticus
nice
a few
guy.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then like a week after y'all put that episode out, I was like, oh shit, nice.
Yeah, they're super cool guys. I was really impressed with their whole brand and everything.
I know, and they're so young.
They are, man. They're talented guys, man.
It makes me feel so old.
Yeah, man, me too, dude. What was I gonna say about that? I was gonna ask. What was I gonna ask? Fuck. I was gonna ask about that. I was gonna segue that into the podcast. What I was gonna do. So tell me before we get too deep into this. Let's see how far we are. We're 37 minutes. We're doing great.
Oh,
doing
perfect.
Great. Tell me a little bit on That Note podcast. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
How did that start? What was your ambition? That kind
of stuff.
It
was over the pandemic, and it was a little more than 2 years now. It was I think August 15th ish. Yeah, is like the yearly mark, and so I mean, really, I just started it because I was bored. And
exactly what you mean.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, brother.
I was like, I had talked about it with a friend of mine. His name's Ethan Ardelin. Everybody check him out. Rest in peace. He's like one of my closest friends, and he was telling me that, well, we wanted to do an interview. I wanted to do it kind of like this, but in like my backyard.
Okay.
And then the pandemic happened, and we're like, probably can't meet in person.
Probably frowned upon.
Yeah, so even then, it was like a couple months later. I'm like, I still want to do that. So I did it over Zoom.
Okay.
And he just recorded his end. I recorded my end. Nice. And then I was like, oh, that was not as hard to do logistically, because I wasn't sure how that would work. Okay. And I wanted to like do it with him first, so that if I messed it up, it was like no big deal, because he's a close friend.
Word.
But it worked out, and then I ended up interviewing a couple other friends, and I was like, I'm gonna do 3 a week, which was insane.
That's a lot.
It was insane.
But a shit ton.
I ended up doing 2 a week for
That's
like
impressive.
Almost a year.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was like continued to do it was the 4th person I interviewed was this guy Kid Hastings, who I was a genuine fan of, who I didn't know him.
Yeah.
And I just reached out to him on Instagram, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, oh, wow, that was easy. Like, all I have to do is ask, and people are probably down, especially during the pandemic. Nobody's doing anything. Yeah. So it's easy, like...
Pretty much all artists are dying for some press, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or a good conversation, you know?
Right. So, I mean, I did it like twice a week for almost a year, and then I'm like, this is unsustainable. Like, it's just,
that's a lot.
It's too much. Yeah. So now it's once a week, and but I
what episode are you on? 100?
The one that just came out, Boro, is 122.
Whew, good for you, man. That's a lot. People don't really understand. I mean, it's like anything, you know. You think that gigging is easy work, you know, or whatever. It's like when you have to edit these things, it's a shit ton of work. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, do the editing, and you run into every problem there is after 122 episodes.
Yeah, latency, losing audio, losing video, losing everything, you know.
There's one where I always have to make sure that my vocals aren't coming out of their speaker, even if they had headphones, because then like the lag of my voice comes through, and it's
pretty
like,
much ruin it.
Literally impossible to edit it out. Like,
I had an episode with Beskin. It was a great one too. I wish I could have posted it. I used like a mixer for the first time, and like I don't know why everything was coming through fine, and the headphones and everything got to the end, and like Drew's voice was like, so quiet, and I was like, damn, Drew was like the main talker in that whole episode, and then it ended up just like not working out with the show he needed to promote, that kind of stuff. But like, you know what I mean, like little shit like that. And like, how long do you spend editing each episode? I know you've gotten better, but like maybe at the start.
Oh, it depends, because I used to be really picky about if there was a 2-second pause. I'm like, I gotta cut it.
Ooh, yeah.
And now, like, I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, people will get through it. I promise.
Exactly.
So little things like that, I don't really worry about as much anymore.
Yeah.
The last one I did was Burrow, and that was a little more of a challenge because I had 3 different people in different places,
Ooh, I bet,
all with their own audio. And like, for me, I live right next to the train track. So like,
gotcha.
For everyone, I have to like cut down the volume when they're not speaking, which is like,
I bet that sucks, man.
Yeah, I mean, it gets tedious, you know?
Yeah.
And one of them, he had the, you know, when your fire alarm beeps because it's out of battery?
Yeah.
It was going the whole time.
No way, bro.
Yeah. Sorry to, you know, bring that up.
No, it's the stuff that the only the host hears.
Yeah.
Because yesterday, I had David Barbie in here. Do you know David Barbie?
No, you were just.
I mentioned him. I mentioned him. Anyways, he did a great episode with him yesterday. Like 25 minutes in, like I had this door open, and I was like, "Damn, my fucking dryer is running," and there's a coin in there, like bouncing around. I was like, "Oh my god, how did I not hear that until now?" You know?
Yeah, you just can't like. That shit's gonna happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can do your best to edit it out, but
do most of your guests use mics? Because I had some mic issues at the start. Not really. They just use a computer.
It depends. I always tell them, hey, like, to me, my philosophy of it is this is their interview, and however prepared or ill prepared they want to be is up to them. So if they want to, like, I suggest, hey, if you have a microphone in DAW, like, it's going to sound much better if you use that during the interview. You can also use voice memos on your iPhone.
That's huge.
That sounds better.
Yeah.
Because it all sounds better than Zoom audio.
Yeah, Zoom's got that lag, you know.
It has the lag, and it also can be like the
like
this
crunchy
like,
almost.
That crunchy sound.
Yeah.
And if it happens if you have bad Wi-Fi and like you can't fix that. So it's up to me, it's up to the guest, but I tell them ahead of time, like, this is what, if you want to make it sound the best, this is what you should do. And they pretty much all make it happen.
Do it pretty good.
They want to sound, you know, they want it to sound professional.
Have you had any trouble with the Zoom ones? I've only done maybe 2 Zoom ones. I've tried to avoid them just because I have such a great studio. You can see what
this
I mean?
Is awesome.
Thank you, man. But like, has it been like they're a little more awkward? You know what I mean? Like, you can't really get the flow of, well, you can, but it's like, this is easier to flow. You get what I mean?
Well, up until recently, like when I did Sweaty Palms podcast, shout
out Sweaty Palms. She's the other. See, this is the trifecta.
I guess so. It's the holy trinity of Athens artist interview podcast.
I love
it. But between her and doing this right now, this is like the only in-person interviews I've ever done. They've all been on Zoom.
Interesting.
So I'm so used to that now that they don't feel awkward to me. Like,
interesting. Okay.
Obviously, some people are a little more awkward on the Zoom, and like you just have to work with that,
ride with it,
because like, what are you gonna do? You can't like
unawkward something.
And usually they open up after like 5-10 minutes, because you know, some people are just awkward in general, and some people are more awkward when they're talking about themselves.
Gotcha.
It's like,
it is a weird thing. You get some guests in who don't really want to talk very much sometimes, or like usually when you get a band is what I've experienced. Like, one of them won't want to say much. It's like, that's like the worst thing you could do on a podcast is not talk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or like hide. You know, like
you just say like 3-word answers. That like, I had one like that recently, and like, you just gotta take the reins a little bit and say like, all right, well, this is what we're gonna talk about. And like, some people you don't have to at all. You'll say 3 words and then they go on for 5 minutes.
Forever,
like, all right, cool.
I love that. Yeah, man. I'm glad you've had some similar experiences. I respect the podcast game, and 120 is a fucking accomplishment, man. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'd say that like 99.99% of podcasts don't make it to 100 episodes. So
yeah. Well, my dad, when I started this, he was like, I was reading that the average podcast, and like out of all of them, they usually only do like 7 episodes. So it's like, well, I got to make it to 7 at
least.
Let's
go to 8.
Yeah, let's do 8. And now, you know, 122 later, I'm like, all right, this is nice.
Good for you, man. Have you done any ads on yours? Do any ad stuff?
I had a sponsor recently, but they had to back out just because it wasn't like doing the numbers they were hoping. But if anybody around here wants to,
I'll put you in touch with some guys. I've got some sponsors. I need to thank them right now. We're 45 minutes in. I need to thank them if that's cool.
Give them the shout out.
Shout out to my show sponsor for today. Today, the only show sponsor is Clark's Collective, a wonderful bar downtown Athens. You been there yet?
Not
They're
yet.
having some great shows. I got Win Tapley tonight. They had Drew Young Thomas canceled on Wednesday. Had something come up, but they literally rebranded themselves from like just a bar into like a music bar, and they're killing it, man. They're great. They're wonderful. They've been with the show since a few months ago. I love those guys. They gave us a tab after our Georgia Theater show. They're wonderful. But anyways, thank you, Clark's Collective. Appreciate you very much. Continuing on, what is your goal kind of for the podcast? Like when you started it, what was the plan? Or even what's the plan now? You know what I mean? Like just keep knocking artists out or do bigger artists, like keep going? What's the plan?
Yeah, I think right now, sponsors would be great just to like add some extra income.
Sustainability.
And what's good about now being in Athens is like reaching out to Athens-based potential sponsors. I feel like would make more sense just because I want to do more in-person interviews with people from Athens, which means more people from Athens will listen to those so they actually know these places. So that would be ideal like for a short-term goal.
Yeah, no, that's a great goal. That's smart too.
Yeah, the ideal, like the biggest possible reach for me would be like to be something like Zane Lowe.
Yeah, I love Zane, dude. Zane's fantastic.
He's just very well spoken.
Very
somewhere
great
between
vibe.
Like Zane Lowe and Rick Rubin would be sick.
Sick, dude.
His podcast is great.
Fantastic podcast, dude. Fantastic.
He just asks really cool, interesting questions.
He's a little more deep, so I get what you mean by like the mix between the two. Because Zane's questions could be deep, but like still pretty surface level.
Yeah,
but like he has a great voice.
Somewhere in between, because I don't think. Like Zane's great because he is just I think he's a good interviewer, but I don't know how much he talks about like the specifics of like the creative process.
Gotcha.
Whereas that's like Rick Rubin's
whole sauce.
Main thing.
Yeah. A mix between the two. That's a really good way to put it, man. Those are probably two of the best music. Probably the two best music interviewers. That's
There's
great.
also a guy my buddy Ash turned me on to called Tape Notes.
I've heard of Tape Notes. Yeah,
Tape
I follow.
Notes is cool
because they'll do like in the bio of whatever they've done, it'll be like all the gear used by the artist. You know what I mean? Like it'll be like they interviewed the Chainsmokers. It'll be like here are the plugins they use for this, and like it's pretty cool.
I didn't know that.
You should follow them on Spotify. Let me show you what I'm talking about right quick if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Tape Notes is a cool podcast, a bigger one everybody should
I
check
listened
out.
to one with the 1975.
Oh, I bet that was great, dude. I'm just getting into them really deep. I like their new music.
Dude, they're awesome.
They're fantastic, dude. Look at this. Okay. So yada, 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 intro music, link to everything. And then they'll have their gear mentions. That's what they call it. They have like everything that they use in there. It's pretty cool.
Dude, that's so handy.
Yeah, dude. Nifty.
And they don't have to do that.
They don't, man. And it's got like all these big artists on here. I'll have to listen to 1975. I bet that one is great.
It's cool, yeah, because they take they'll like take demos of the songs and like go through the tracks, like the individual tracks, and talk about why they liked that or why they're pushing for this. You know what I mean? They'll show like the finished version versus the demo, which is just, I think that shit's really interesting.
I think so too, man. What do you do with the videos on your podcast? Do you just put them on YouTube or
you
film all of them?
YouTube? Yeah, because it's all on Zoom, so all I have to do is record the
You're doing
video.
it anyways, yeah.
Right.
I think the video element is super important, man. What have you thought so far about like the listeners on your video versus the listeners?
Okay, I think more people certainly listen to it.
Same.
I love watching them, depending on who it is. I think it's really cool to like watch the body language and stuff like that. The thing is, I have never, my first setup ever I thought was the best visually because I would sit like right in the middle and then on either side of me there was a shelf that I could put vinyl albums behind me.
I like that.
So depending on the artist, I would like guess what I thought they might like. So I'd put both of them up
Talking point.
Yeah, and then sometimes they'd bring it up and then we'd start talking about it. That was my favorite, but my last two setups haven't really been like, one was just a backdrop and that's not as interesting. And then depending on the other person, because it's Zoom, their backdrop might not be anything interesting. Or sometimes they're in the middle of their studio and they like make it look cool.
Looks great.
Which is always really fun to see.
Interesting. I've thought about this setup a lot too, because like honestly, this setup here is not the best because like I'm facing you, but you have to face that way. Like I should be facing this way.
I feel like I want to talk shit right now.
Oh, that's good. That's kind of how it should feel, I guess, right? Like I don't mind.
This is what I want. Like I'm going for this.
Sweet, man. I'm glad to hear that. I think you're doing a good job, man. I'm not gonna lie. I looked at the list and I didn't know many of the artists you did. Where are they? Mostly Atlanta?
No, well, because it's Zoom, they're all over the world. Like that makes sense. That's what I love about Zoom is that. I mean, I've interviewed a girl from Sweden, Norway. I forgot. But yeah, I mean, there's been people from England. There's been people from New York, Nashville.
That's awesome.
Atlanta.
See, I didn't know many of the names, and I was like, I was like, I don't know where because like a very strong part of this podcast is that it's the Athens music podcast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's been pretty much nobody from anywhere other than unless they were in town playing, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So,
which is great because you have like a stronghold on the Athens community.
For sure. Well, it's interesting though, because like to a certain point, I'm 100 episodes in, I'm running out of bands and stuff, if that makes sense. Like there's plenty of artists here, but as I'm sure you are the same way, it's like if somebody's not putting out music, somebody's not playing gigs, like I would love to have you and all, but like what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
To a certain extent, you know, like I've asked to like, so like when did you start playing music? You know, like when did you guys become a band kind of stuff? And I'm kind of over the having bands that have played 3 shows on. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of expired on that.
Well, you're having one that's only played one right now.
But you got stuff going on. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's completely difference between being a band and not playing any shows and you being an actor, podcaster, musician with tunes coming out, 2 EPs on the rack. You know what I mean?
No, I appreciate you having me on.
No, dude, there was no problem. It's just I just wondered how you had felt. Has there been any like style of guests where you're like, all right, I'm kind of over this, if that makes sense? Maybe not. Maybe I'm being selfish.
No. I know what you mean. I used to be more like in the beginning. Anybody who emailed me or hit me up, I was like, oh my god, like they want to come on the show, so I'd have them on.
Yeah,
but
me
now
too.
it's like I get some of those emails. I'm like, I have no idea who you are, and this tune's not very good, and like I don't want to just have somebody on.
That's how I feel. It's weird though, isn't it? Because it's like you should just like be happy that they want to be on, but then like they hit you up in a very like we need press sort of way.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's weird to get like something from a manager who's never talked to you, and it's like clearly sent to everyone.
Yes, it's like they're trying to do their press round right now for their single. Do you get what I'm saying?
And part of me is like grateful that I'm even considered somebody that they would want to like reach out to.
Absolutely.
But it does feel a little less personal. But you know,
I get exactly what you mean, man. I almost let like I hate to say ego get in the way for me, but it was like there was a little period in the past couple months where like any person that reached out was almost like a knee jerk, like, oh god, yeah. Like you know what I'm saying? Like like they just need something. You know, like I had all the and like I don't know how to describe it. It sounds like I'm being a jerk, but like I had everything to give and they had everything to gain with like with nothing to offer. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was like when you do them, the thing that's most annoying to me is when I do them and like do all the work and then they don't share it to their story or something.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, all right. I'm like, fuck this. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I was just about to say. Yeah. That reminded me of. So because I can do it on Zoom, like I can reach out to really anyone. Yeah. So there have been times where I reach out to somebody that's a little bit like I would think is harder to get, at least for me. Okay. And then they surprise me and then they're like, yeah, I'll come on the show. And that's awesome. Yeah. And I'm like personally fulfilled, but then my ego like hurts when they don't even like the Instagram post. They don't even share it once. Yes. I'm like, dude, what? And then I have people on who are smaller and like, you know, the average person would just have no idea who they are. And they're going hard, like
they usually
sure
gas
people,
it,
because they want people to see it, and like I love that more. That makes me feel better to know that person's stoked on it, as opposed to the person who thinks like I did that guy a favor by coming on this show.
Oh
you know?
My god, dude! When even worse to me is when they like the post and don't share it. It's like, bro, I put hours into that. You know what I mean? Like I spent so much time on that, the thumbnail, the clips, everything, and you're not even gonna share it. But dude, then again, you know, that might be ego as well. Just
it probably
it might be, you know, thinking they owe us something, but they don't.
Yeah.
I don't have many podcast friends to talk about this with, so I'm glad you felt something similar. You know, even though it's not that great of a feeling. But
it is relatable.
It is relatable. You get what I'm saying? I respect that, dude. Well,
I did have a couple. I know we probably need to wrap it up.
Dude, no. You got time. Go ahead.
I just had a couple questions for you.
Oh shit! Send it, brother. Send it.
Your tour schedule is pretty crazy.
Thank you so much, man.
So I'm just wondering what your experience has been on tour now, but in general, what have you learned from touring so much, and like what, as somebody who has played very few shows, what advice would you give somebody like me?
Okay, that's a great question. Are you interested in touring? Like,
I would
you like
certainly like to play more shows around here.
Yeah. Touring is probably my main area of expertise, if that makes sense. Like I probably booked 150-ish shows for us. This tour has been very interesting for us because it's been a blast so far, but very different than our second tour, which was last semester, in the way of like we're on a third tour now, and very like SEC, like tri-state tours. You know, like the highest we go is Virginia, farthest left we've been is Mississippi, which is a pretty good little stretch. But we're to the point where it's like, all right, we can't keep touring like this. You know, like we've gotta make a change into touring better. You know, like we're making more money than we've ever made, but we're not playing the most beneficial shows to our music. Do you get what I'm saying?
Sure.
So my advice to somebody like you that wants to start touring is start fucking playing anywhere in the state that'll book you, would be my first, you know. You got Atlanta contacts. That means you can do Smith's Old Bar. You can do 529. You can do Athens. I mean, pretty much Athens bands, when they're starting out, they do Athens once every 2 weeks, you know.
Right.
Just start playing, and it'll start, like, if you can play with other bands, that's huge because they'll get you on other shows if they like you, of course, you know. It's like basic, like that's basic ask advice, but start playing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's what I try to tell people, because if you're making music and not touring, you're kind of like, you know, unless you're like really into like the building an online buzz, which it seems like you're pretty good at, you're kind of just like waiting for it to happen. You know what I mean? And I can't imagine that it will unless you're just like a very, very lucky individual, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
Because like you're still just putting music out to people that know you. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah. So that's the thing that I've tried to figure out and I've now kind of been learning is because I didn't play a lot of shows, I wasn't meeting people, like they weren't seeing me and like being like, oh, this is cool, let me listen to him later. I was promoting everything to people that already knew me, and that you kind of hit a ceiling. And then I did this one show with Ash the week before the Flickr show, and he put it on just at like an event space, and it was something really chill but really fun. There was only like 30 people there total. That's sick. But it was very intimate, and like all of a sudden, like, you know, 15 people followed me. Like I saw like a small spike in streams, but I'm like, that wouldn't have happened without I didn't play this show. And I'm like, if you multiply that by like, you know, 50 in a year,
in different cities, you know,
exactly,
get in front of some big crowds here, small crowd there, an engaged crowd. You know, I had some buddies in a really great band in town, the Angelics. You ever heard of them?
I haven't. No,
they're a newer band. My drummer plays in this band as well. I'm excited about them because they have good tunes. But he was talking about, or they mentioned that they would rather like craft up a lot of originals to like get an online buzz about, or maybe this was somebody else I'm thinking of. But anyways, they were saying that they were going to craft a bunch of originals to put out before they started touring, if that makes sense. And I get that, but it's like, at the same time, who are you putting them out to? Do you get what I mean? Like, if you've only got fans in Athens, the 200 people that have seen you play twice, it's like, all right, who are you putting it out to, you know? And that being said, I don't have a ton of monthly listeners or anything. Like, I don't kill on Spotify, and we tour, but like we have fans in those little cities, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a bit of a catch-22.
It is.
Where if you play all these shows and you don't have anything out,
yes,
nobody can go and listen to it.
Good point.
But if you have a bunch of tunes that are on Spotify, they don't play anywhere.
Yes,
you're not gonna get any new fans.
Exactly.
Probably.
And we've been trying to, like, it's a good question from you on the touring thing, because we've been trying to tour smarter. We took a weird approach of like, we do a lot of cover gigs to like fund the touring, if that makes sense. Like, we're extremely profitable with that. Extremely is a stretch, but profitable is a W.
Yeah.
And like at the same time, like that led to us having fans of our live show that didn't care about our music. Do you know what I mean? Because like they're like, oh, these guys are sick. They can play Mr. Brightside. You know what I mean? It's like, so we had a lot of fans like that, and when we put music out, it didn't stream that well. But like out of those big crowd, we were making some real fans. You know what I mean? So I don't know. If my advice to you would just be play little shows. Like, don't be afraid to play to 30 people. Like, don't even worry about the big numbers, because I played to the big numbers, and I mean like 700, you know, it's not that crazy. And like 700 people unengaged is not as beneficial as 30 people at Flickr engaged.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Wow, that's a great quote right there.
Yeah, should mic drop that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna clip that.
yeah, clip that. That's great.
You know what I mean though? Because like, 30 people who are like fucking with you, like there's nothing else going on in that room, but everybody in there listening to you, thinking, damn, these are cool songs. I'm gonna check them out after. Is way better than 700 people who are just hammered like after a football game,
laughing,
yeah, they're
with
like,
each other
sick,
and not
dude.
listening,
like holding their beer cans up, like, yo, this is wicked, man. You know, sex on fire, bro. You know what I mean? It's like, and don't get me wrong, we built a lot of our fan base like that. I love playing football stuff, big crowd stuff like that. It's just that's a recent realization of mine. Is 30 people in Flickr is better than 700 unengaged, man.
That's a good point.
It's a good point.
But I mean, you know, still you might get a bunch of fans from those.
That's true.
700.
We have.
Yeah.
I mean, like after some 700 shows, you got 50 new followers. It's like, all right, we made some fans. You know.
Yeah, totally.
They fuck with us enough to follow. That's a W. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting, man. Touring is like it'll leave you disillusioned if you do it wrong. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, you could drive all the way to Oxford, Mississippi, and play for 30 people. And it's like, damn, that sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like we could have played at home to 75 and done better than that, you know. But like, if you never go out there and get on it, you know, you'll just never.
Right. Yeah.
It's interesting.
One day, hopefully, I'll do like an actual tour. Right now, I'm just trying to book things around.
It's not that hard, man. Like, it's really like you can book Athens, Atlanta, Augusta, Savannah, and call it a tour if you'd like. You know, a lot of people do the 4-day run kind of thing, and it wouldn't be hard for you to team up with 2 bands and make that happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just kind of hone your craft a little bit, play in Athens as much as you can. Take any gigs you can get and fire away.
Yeah.
That'd be my advice. I don't know anything.
No, that's great advice. Thank you for imparting the wisdom.
Thank you, man. Thank you for a good question. Did you have any others? Well, I got some more stuff for you in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to leave quite yet, do you? What time do you need to leave?
No, I mean, 2:15-ish.
Oh, we got time.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions I always ask my guests on the show for the
I
last
wanna hear
5. So I just wanted to give a couple just to get
I'll answer them
your
briefly.
response. One is, what are you listening to right now?
Ooh, right now I've been listening to a lot of The Stews, which is the band played with on Thursday from out of Auburn. Wonderful band. Y'all check them out. I've listened to Catfish and the Bottlemen. You ever heard of them?
Yeah, I've never
They're really cool.
Is
really
that
cool.
all their albums are black with like a white drawing?
Yes, which I think is kind of cool, but like you could do a different one eventually. Like they're 4 albums.
At some point, break the cycle.
Yeah, they actually just broke up, so no more albums from them. But they're like a very like British rock kind of thing. This modern, and I'm just like very little going on, but still sounds great. I'm very interested in them, and also Hefner, dude. Listen to a lot of Hefner, dude. That new album's really good.
I listen to it all the time.
It's great.
Dude, what's your favorite track? It's hard to pick.
It's hard to pick. I don't even know all the names because I just shuffle it. I like the one where, I mean, I think it was the single where it's like, I took my car 195 just to be by my fucking self. I love that one, dude.
The music videos.
I haven't seen it.
And they recorded most of it at my house.
Really? At Tommy's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I thought there's the thing about Hefner that would be exempt from my whole theory I just threw down. I don't think they've toured at all, really. I think they've done like Savannah and Columbia maybe, and like just Athens shows, and they have a ton of listeners.
Yeah,
like they're doing a great job, you know. So
they got the secret sauce,
but they've got the brand down. I think they're all a little older, if I'm not mistaken. They're all like 27, 29-ish, and like they've been in some big bands, if I'm not mistaken. They kind of found a way to like build this brand around a new exciting band, and then have an audience for it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I saw them at Trash Fest, and
I bet that was great.
rocked.
Last week or 2 weeks ago?
I think it might have been 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Who you been listening to?
So let me pull out the Spotify.
Tell me, man. Tell me.
Well, we had a brief conversation about the new Arctic Monkeys single.
With me and you?
I think, right?
I fucking love it, dude.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Dude, it's great. It's
That's
like
been on repeat.
That was us. We DM'd about it.
Yeah.
It's like Space, the Tranquility album, but like not
but
weird.
Better.
Yeah, I like the Tranquility stuff, but it's like that, but with pop potential. You know what I mean?
It's like
Very
they took that, they heard because some people didn't really like it at all.
Oh, a lot of people did.
Yeah. But I was so glad that they just took it and like polished it a little bit more.
Yeah, they like it just sounds like it's got potential, you know what I mean? Like this album could be incredible, you know.
And the music video is great.
But I also respect the Hotel album just because like they picked a concept and they ran with it.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? Like they finished it and like it's all on brand. I like that.
Yeah, they really went for it.
Yeah.
So that one, I've been listening to DJO.
I don't listen to him, no.
Do you know Stranger Things?
Yeah, I love Stranger Things.
So Joe Keery from Stranger Things.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah,
right?
So he has a group called DJO.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Don't they have like very psychedelic like?
Yeah, this is the guy.
Interesting. So he's in that group?
Yeah. I mean, it's mainly him.
Yeah.
Like, I think the band is just like his backing band.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's DJO or Joe, because I've heard both.
Heard both. Okay.
But he put out 3 songs that are coming out or that are out.
Yeah.
Singles for a new album, and those 3 are insane. Like,
really?
Definitely highly recommend those.
We'll check that out. DJO.
Alex G just put out a new song today, which is great. I saw him here.
What venue?
Live. What was it?
George Theater?
40 Watt.
40 Watt. Word.
Yeah.
Word.
And he's coming again to Atlanta, but it's sold out, which I'm bummed about.
Man.
Yeah. And then Steve Lacy's Gemini Rights album.
Steve Lacy. I don't think I've ever listened to him.
Dude, he's very funky, groovy. You might know a song or two that he's like put out in the past, but yeah, that one's great. The album cover's really cool.
Sweet.
I'll leave it at that.
I like it.
Those are what I'm listening to.
I'll check
now.
it out, man.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. Interesting. I wanted to ask you, like, where are you hoping to be in the next year or two with your music? This is a question I like to ask in a lot of episodes. Like, where are you trying to get into, like, 1 to 3 year range? Like, what is the goal for this upcoming? Like, what are you trying to do here?
I'd love to be playing more shows.
Okay.
Like, a tour would be great.
Yeah.
A small one, at least. Like, if we're talking year, because it's hard to think about 3 years.
Yeah,
down
that's
the
a big
road.
grasp.
But 1 year down the road, it would be amazing to be playing shows, have like a solid fan base here in Athens, so that I could play places like the George Theater rooftop, the 40 Watt.
Yeah.
Drew was saying that, because he does what's it called, Athfest.
Yeah,
so that would be really sick.
It's a great opportunity
next year. Yeah. To me, that was kind of the goal, to like establish myself enough over the next year so that I can play Athfest.
Sweet.
And it wouldn't be like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah,
you know what
dude,
I mean?
I'm sure you could do that this summer. That'd be great. Yeah. I mean, just like Flickr's a great start. Any kind of, how long can you play?
So right now I have 9 originals are in the set.
Yeah, I mean, you're on par to do 40 Watt this semester if you want to. I'm sure you can line
that would
up.
be sick. I wanted to do a cover of Pump It Up by Elvis Costello to end the whole thing. But I was like, we need to get everything else tight before we can learn a whole new cover.
Gotcha.
So maybe next time.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, yeah, dude, I think you're well on your way. I think Flickr shows are a great start. I mean, you played with two of the better bands in town, I think, like Ant Moth and Jacob Mallow seem to be killing it.
Yeah.
Jacob's a great songwriter, dude.
Dude, he's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he played solo, so it was really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Just piano?
He had piano. He did some guitar, loop pedal stuff.
Interesting.
And his voice is awesome.
Yeah, he's talented. I hear good things about Ant Moth too. I haven't seen him yet, but my buddy Vic plays drums in that band, so that's cool.
Yeah, they were killer.
They're heavy, right?
They were heavy. Yeah,
I love that.
It was cool because Jacob Mallo's more softer, like indie, and then Ant Moth comes in and they're like tearing the house down, and then I come in with like more of a rockabilly Americana. So it was like kind of all over the place.
That's a very Flickr bill. You know what I mean? Like Flickr, they don't give a fuck what genre you are, just come play. Which I like.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. So one year touring, playing Athfest, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would love to maybe have another EP or like maybe a full album after the second EP comes out.
Be sick.
It would be great to do with Tommy, especially because he's just my roommate. You just walk over.
I'm headed in the studio.
Yeah, walk next door and go chill with him. He's just he's very, very talented. It would be cool to do something with him.
His sonics are fantastic, dude.
Yeah,
so good. You have a favorite Tommy Trotwin song? Well kept,
dude. Yes, absolutely. Top 3 are gonna be
Hammerhead
Corvette.
Nice.
I don't know if it's I go back and forth between that being my favorite and Punches being my favorite.
I like Punches. Yeah,
Punches is epic.
Yeah, it's a slept on one a little bit.
Yeah,
a little deep cut.
I love Oh Charisse.
Oh Charisse is a great song. That song's so damn catchy, bro. The guitars in it.
The guitar is sick.
Yeah, the guitars sound crazy good, clean.
It sounds great live.
Yeah, I wanted to see him on the rooftop, but I was fucking running sound, man. Did you go to their rooftop show?
Yeah,
was it good?
Yeah, they killed it.
I believe it. They always sound good. I think my top 3. Damn, that's tough. I'd probably go Hammerhead Corvette number 1 because that song's just cool. Like the whole vibe, the whole like trash can snare thing they got going on, sample. I'd probably put Oh Sharice, number 2, Good Thoughts, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just like Good Thoughts because that was the first one he put out. And I was like, this is great. Yeah.
I haven't gone like the deep dive into his. I listened to his first album once, but I listened to The Inquirer so many times.
See, I'm the other way around. I think I was deeper on the first album, and then I lost touch with him kind of, and wasn't listening very much, or like I just fell out of the spirit. I'm ready for some new Elijah music. Is Elijah putting music out?
Yeah. Well, I don't know actually if he has new tunes coming out. I know he's playing a show tonight.
Where at?
The Georgia Theater rooftop at like 11.
I hate it when I miss it.
It's like 11 p.m.
What?
It's weird. It's free. I think,
so somebody's playing downstairs.
I guess
that's how they do it. Somebody plays downstairs and then the rooftop house start after. Yeah, that's a good gig. It must be somebody good. It's probably like Perpetual Groove or something.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I wish I could go. I'm at Georgia Tech SAE tonight.
Sick. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool. I'm excited to get back up there. I like all those guys. Elijah's the great Athens songwriter of our generation.
He's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love Horse Girl. I know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Maybe that's like a basic pick.
No, that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Dude, Horse Girl's great. Greatest Hits.
Yeah,
Molly
Greatest
Haskell.
Hits. Fantastic. Yeah,
Those
I like
the
old. I like fucking Don't Come Around Looking For Me. I think that's the name.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah, I always get that one mixed up because it makes me think of that Tom Petty song, Don't Come Around Here No More.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been riding with Elijah for a while, man. He's got some fucking banging tunes.
Yeah.
Bro.
I'm also a big fan of Zach Crook. He's my other roommate.
See, Zach's one I never really listened to. I need to get Zach on here. He seems like a cool guy. I met him in the studio one time, but I've never really I listened to his EP where it's like a SUV on the front or something.
There's one of him. Oh, well, it's his album, June Kicks My Ass. It's like him in front of a giant, like, green, leafy wall.
He's always got the funny kind of thing going on.
Dude,
like,
yeah.
Like the little lighthearted. Yeah, he's from Florida, I think. Cool guy.
Yeah, he is. I think Jacksonville.
Yeah, who else in Athens you been listening to? Anybody?
Let me think. Oh, dude, well, gotta give it up to Drew Beskin, of course.
The man,
his new tunes are great.
I haven't checked him out, dude. I love Drew. I need to listen to him for our podcast next week.
They're my favorite.
What is it? Something Plum
Spoilers,
Blues?
Yeah, Paraplum Blues. Spoilers
is great.
Favorite. I listen to it almost every day.
He sent me Spoilers on the SoundCloud link like months ago.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, and I was listening to it. I was like, yo, Spoilers is my favorite one.
That one rocks.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God. Oh, so got to give a shout out to the Echo Locations.
I've listened to them.
They're not technically an Athens band. They all live a little bit more north.
Okay.
But so two of them, Wes and Harrison, they played in my band at Flickr.
Oh, word.
And Gavin is the drummer. So they're a trio, and they play like really surf rock, like 50s, you know, think like Pulp Fiction kind of.
Oh, sick.
That's the vibe. And they're great. They're playing at September Days.
Oh, dude, September Days is gonna be great.
Yes.
Great lineup.
Are you gonna go?
I am gonna. Well, what day is it? 17th?
I think either 17th and 18th or 16th and 17th.
We're probably on the road. I'm not gonna lie, but I would like to come. I want to see the Hotel Fiction. They're dropping some new tunes.
They're
I'm excited
amazing.
about that.
Hotel Fiction's awesome.
They were like, I think they were episode like 27 on here, and they're the episode I always talk about because they were one where we got to the end and my Pro Tools crashed and I lost all their audio.
Oh no!
So if you listen to it, it's just the camera audio, and it's not terrible, but like still, I was like, oh, that would have been a good one to get.
Yeah,
I need to get them back on
me,
here.
Dude.
Yeah, you know how it is. You know how it is. But yeah, September Days lineup's really good. Who else was I excited about? Tommy's on there, I think. Wim Tapley's really good. You ever listen to Wim?
No.
I feel like you would like Wim. Wim's a cool guy. He's making like,
I've heard the name.
Kind of Americana. I don't know how I'd describe it. To me, it makes me think of like fucking like British music almost. I don't know how to describe it. It's like Jonas Brothers-y mixed with like it's just, I don't know, dude. That was a terrible description of his music. You ever listen
Jonas
to
Brothers slap?
You ever listen to Sam Fender?
No.
That's who he reminds me of, like a soft Athens Sam Fender, and Sam Fender's like this British guy who like makes these sick sing-along rock songs. Pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so you should listen to Wim. You like him.
Wim Hapley.
Wim Tapley.
Tapley.
T-A-P. Yeah, you were close. T-A-P-E-L-Y.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I'll definitely check him out. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that, you know, just rocks here. There's so many.
I don't know, man. There's a lot, but there's not a lot of bands here that tour, honestly. I wish more bands would tour here because I was talking about this with Dave Barbie yesterday. Like, it's, I mean, kind of like we talked about earlier, it's like, to a certain extent, if you're playing Athens once a month, it's like, are you really, like, going for it? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And, like, I get it, and it's working out. Like, Hefner would be a good example of it working out. But, like, a lot of them just, like, come on the show and they're, like, playing Athens once every 2 weeks and are, like, asking me what they should be doing. It's like, bro, go play in South Carolina, go play Alabama, go play Virginia. You know what I mean? Like go play, take these tunes somewhere. So I don't know.
Yeah. What I'm worried about is if I want to do that is getting everybody on the same page, you know, the band members, because everybody has so many different schedules.
That's true, man. It's not easy, man. It's not easy. You got to have 3 or 4 guys that are really committed to what's going on. Right. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, I will say, I mean, I wish I knew the ratio, but obviously nobody knows. Like, what's the ratio of band entities that break through and singer-songwriter entities? You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I mean, even John Mayer had to have a band. You get what I'm saying? Or even Tyler Childers or whoever. Like, they have to have a band to continue going on, or else you're just playing the acoustic guitar in a restaurant in the corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
saying? I don't think that would be something I'd want to do all the time. Like, it was fun to do at my friend's thing, but man, it's just so much more fun playing with a band.
Yes.
Like, I have more fun playing with a band.
You get what I mean? Is when I say like you can see a band and it's like, holy shit, there's a band. And then like you can walk into a restaurant and somebody's playing acoustic guitar in the corner. It's like, keep walking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The most you're probably going to get is like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, sick, man. I mean, you can get some people in it. Some people love that kind of stuff. I love watching my favorite artists play acoustic, you know? But at the end of the day, I feel like you kind of have to have the band if you're trying to really do it. You know what I mean?
I feel that way. Well, personally, I would be more stoked to see somebody play a band than just one-on-one.
Every time, you know, because I guess it's more of a collection or more of a rarity, you know, like, You get what I mean?
Absolutely.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. We made it 77 minutes. That's impressive, dude. That's impressive, dude. You're a smart guy.
Podcaster to podcaster. We can keep it going as long as we can, you know. But yeah, dude, thank you for having me on.
Dude, no problem, dude. I'm glad. Tell the camera where to find your podcast, your music, all that stuff. Give them the Instagrams and everything.
You can find On That Note on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. And then my name, Parker Wierling, Wierling. That's on Spotify, Apple Music, any of that stuff. Wierling. I respond to anything. It's cool. So I'm just, you know, all the socials, Instagram, all that stuff. Hit me up.
Sweet.
Follow me on Be Real.
Yeah, dude. I need to make a Be Real. Do you like
Get
yours?
a Be Real? Yes, dude. I love Be Real. It's great.
I was on stage in Statesboro and somebody handed me, he's like, can you do my Be Real? And I was like,
and you're like, what the hell is this?
I was like, how? And I just like pressed it. And
and then a picture of you comes up. You're like,
I was like, whoa. That's cool, man. It's cool. I'd like to have one.
Yeah.
But anyways, man, thank you for coming on. Thank you all for watching it. If you made it 78 minutes in, we love you. We love you. Thanks to Clark's Collective for supporting the show. They've been sponsors since day one, pretty much. Shout out Clark's. You guys go get a drink at Clark's. They got great drink deals. I think they've got Win Tapley tonight. You'll probably, by the time this is out, he'll be played. But they've always got artists playing. Y'all check out Clark's. Give him a follow on Instagram. And give this man a follow. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Hey, thank you, Jameson. I appreciate it, man.
Anytime, man. Let's give him a wave for the thumbnail. Give me a smile. Yeah, there we go. Thank y'all. Subscribe to the show. We love you. Bye.